Good afternoon, everybody. How are we all doing? I've had a few people lately who have been asking me for advice on this. Because we do the small animal boarding here in Dublin, the rabbit rooms. I have had people looking to book in two rabbits for boarding, and I no longer board a pair of rabbits where one or both of them aren't neutered, and that is because they're so likely to fall out in general, but particularly when they're here because there's other rabbits around, and if they are around rabbits that are not neutered, because some of the rabbits that come into us are singles and they're not neutered, but also any rabbits in general, it can make them upset and it can upset their hormones, and they're more likely to fall out. And that then becomes a bit of an issue because the rabbits come to us, we have to separate them, and we can't watch them 24/7. Obviously, I sleep sometimes. I'm here a lot, it's my full-time job, but I'm not always here. And what could happen is they could fall out. They could injure each other if I wasn't there. If I am there and they start falling out, I have to separate them, and then the people have to rebond them once they get them home. So it's all a whole big thing, which I try to avoid people having to go through if I can help it. So sometimes people are messaging me, and I've had a few lately here, people who are messaging me, they're saying they want to get two rabbits. Quite often it's because they have a couple of kids and they want a rabbit for each of them or whatever. And they're thinking that they will just go and get two rabbits, and they don't realise the dangers of them falling out when the hormones kick in. So again, I thought it might be useful to have a little live. I'm sure a lot of people know this, but not everybody does. So I thought I would just put a little video in here for you guys, just in case that was you. Okay, so basically rabbits are definitely better kept in pairs. But you're not always better off getting a pair of rabbits from the very start. So an ideal scenario is to adopt a pair of rabbits who are already neutered and already bonded, or for you to get one rabbit, get to grips with looking after them and figuring out how to care for them and bonding with your rabbit. And then when they're old enough to be neutered, neuter that rabbit and then get a second one. Ideally one who's already neutered, because that's much quicker so that you're able to bond them quicker. Um, because if you have to wait for them to be neutered as well and then wait 8 weeks for the hormones to die down before you start bonding them, because you have to wait for that to happen, they can be apart for quite a long time. And in the meantime, your other rabbit is a only child, and there can often be behavioural issues because they are complaining about the fact that you have another rabbit in the house. And even if you keep them separately, they're not stupid, and they know they know the other rabbit is there. So what can often happen is that people can end up with with their own rabbit being quite aggressive. So it does die down obviously over time, and especially when they're bonded, but it can be useful if you can actually get them already neutered, and then you can let your second rabbit settle in for a week or two and then get started on the bonding. It means they're not separate for too long and you can get stuck into the bonding. That to me is the best scenario if you want to have two rabbits. If you want to go down the route of getting baby rabbits, that's fine, but you do have to be aware of the fact that they are quite likely to fall out when the hormones kick in. I've often had people coming to me and they are adopting, or they're buying or adopting a pair of baby rabbits, and quite often boys, and I'm like, that's just a recipe for disaster, I'm afraid. So baby boys have like a 99.99% chance of falling out when the hormones kick in. And an awful lot of the bonding that I do here, I've done over 270 sets. I would say easily 60% or more of it is rebonding. Rabbits that have fallen out when the hormones have kicked in before they got neutered. And a large chunk of those are males, and they've quite often hurt each other because they can fall out very suddenly. There can be no build up, or maybe you don't see the build up because you're not used to bonding behaviors and you don't know what to watch for, and they can hurt each other. And I do know of a pair actually where one actually did kill the other. So it does actually happen. I know you hear that online, but it does actually happen. I do know that happened to somebody that I knew. So it can happen. So two boys together, absolute disaster. A male and a female, you're going to have to separate them really soon. Quite often you get baby rabbits at about 8 weeks old. They can get pregnant from 11 weeks. So again, people don't always realise that, and they think, oh, we'll have them together and then we'll be able to neuter them and then we'll be able to keep them together. And the reality of it is that no, they can get pregnant way earlier than actually you can neuter them. A lot of vets will not neuter a rabbit until they're 6 months of age. Some rabbit savvy vets will do females a little bit younger than that. Males can be done from 10 weeks if the testicles have dropped. but males are fertile for several weeks after being neutered. So even if you could neuter your baby boy at 10, 11 weeks, he can still get the female pregnant, unless she's neutered, and generally speaking she's too young to be done at that point. So you're going to get your rabbits at 8 weeks of age, and then you're going to have to separate them at around 10 weeks of age, and then you're going to have to neuter them both, wait the 8 weeks for the hormones to die down, and then you're going to have to rebond them together. So it's not, unfortunately, the happy ending that you would have liked. And that's fine if you're prepared for that and you know how much work it's going to be in bonding and you have the time to do that. But people aren't always prepared for that. And I get a lot of phone calls from people who are like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. I never would have got to if I'd known that I was going to have to separate and rebond. And that's regardless of what gender they are. I actually have a rabbit in boarding at the moment, and the lady actually got two boys, and she had just got them when she rang me about boarding, and I explained how we wouldn't board them together and how she was going to have to separate them, and she returned one to the breeder because she said, I'm not signed up for that at all. And this rabbit is so well loved. He lives in the house with them. He sleeps in the little girl's bed. He's just adored. And for them, that was the best scenario because they were not prepared for the work that would be involved in rebond, and they hadn't got the time. And I think it's better to be aware of that and not take that on if you're not able to do that, because I hate to see people in a mess with it where they're expecting that it'll go smoothly and then they've got all this work to do, and possibly the distress and vet bills if the rabbits actually fall out in the meantime as well. So that's your two boys, that's your male and your female, and then finally the third combination is two girls. This can be okay, but I wouldn't like to ever guarantee it. Sometimes females can live together perfectly fine their entire lives. Especially if they're female babies together, or they've, from the same litter, or they have grown up together from babies, they can be fine. The problem with it is that if they're not neutered, that they're going to have hormone surges their whole lives. And therefore it's possible that they might be fine one day and fall out at any point. And they can have hormone surges after they're neutered as well. So obviously females, it's really, really important that they get neutered, because they've got like an 80% chance of getting reproductive cancers by age about 4 if they don't get neutered. And then unfortunately a rabbit has a much shorter lifespan than the 10 or 12 years that they could be living. So absolutely they should be neutered, but then once they do get neutered, they can have hormone surges after that as well. And then it's a case of them being possibly falling out even after you've neutered them. They could fall out in a few weeks after that. So really the safest thing to do with females is also to separate them, get them neutered, and then rebond them as well. You can in some instances allow them to have certainly living side by side, but you can also in some instances allow them to have supervised playtime together. I wouldn't take your eyes off them because they can fall out really suddenly, even girls, but you can possibly give them some sort of a playtime together, as long as they're not displaying behaviors like mounting or fur pulling or nipping at each other or lunging, because that will only give them negative experiences of each other, and that's going to make it really difficult for you to bond them later on. So only if you can give them a positive experience. If, say for example, they're okay in the living room bopping around together, that's fine. Then you can give them that time together, and that might maintain their bond. And then once they're neutered, you can wait till the hormones die down, and then you can start stepping up the time together. And maybe that might be an easier bond than if they're separated altogether. But you have to be aware of what you're looking for, and you have to keep a really close eye on them. So as I said, my best solution for you if you want more than one rabbit is to go down the route of having a baby, letting them get old enough to be neutered, wait for the hormones to die down, adopting a second one that's already neutered, or even better, adopt a pair from a rescue because they're already neutered and already bonded. And if you adopt from a rescue, you're helping the rabbits that you're adopting, because you're giving them a new home, and you're also freeing up a space in the rescue for more rabbits. And we all know there's an awful problem at the moment with worldwide rabbit dumping. It seems to be in every country around the world. So if you can adopt, that's even better. But I understand some people like to have them from babies or want to get them as babies from a rescue, and you have to just be aware of the risks of that. So I hope that really helps, and I will talk to you guys soon.